welcome to John and Juan Gonzalez talk about the games of 2016.
Woo!
Yay! The year is almost over. Finally.
Finally, the worst year of my life.
It's been a shitty year, I guess.
Yeah,
so
I think everyone said it's been a shitty year.
So, but that's why it's so good that we have a lot of good games, so we could escape from this shitty year and the horrible outside world. So we're gonna talk about some of our favorite games of 2016.
Indeed.
Some of which we played on the channel, some of which I've enjoyed a lot. So, should we just get right into it?
Yeah, let's get straight into it.
All right.
So this isn't in any particular order, really. It's just an order.
No, I think like at the end we'll say like which one was the standout. But we're just gonna talk about a bunch of games that we really enjoyed. There's no less like, oh, this was number 7, this was number 5. This is just talking about some favorites, so it's random order. So yeah.
Okay.
The first game I want to talk about is one you've just gotten into. The full game wasn't released this year, but the DLC for it was released this year, which is The Witcher 3: Blood and Wine.
Yep.
Developed by Polish developer CD Projekt Red, and the DLC came out in May, which was really good because I actually finished the main game in March, even though it came out in May last year.
That's
so yeah, you just gotten into The Witcher. You've got a couple of hours in. What is your first impressions?
I think it's fucking amazing, to be honest. I'm really, really enjoying it.
Yeah, it was by far my favorite game of last year, even in the year which also saw Bloodborne, which I also really loved. So
I'm enjoying it. I'm glad it's one of those things. It's nice to kind of pick it up now and realize that I've got the whole journey to go through, so I'm quite happy, to be honest.
And you also got
both DLCs.
Yeah, and you also got a lot of they actually added a lot of really good patches to the game.
Oh yeah, I can tell because I've bought 2 versions. I bought one for my little brother that I played, and the difference between the digital download I've just played and that CD version is much better.
So it's actually it's one of the things like. Just so much better. You have the storage chest, which I would advise you to use because you gather so much junk.
Yeah. Is it useful to keep that junk actually?
Sometimes, yeah. They changed a lot of it because a lot of the junk they made like so it doesn't have any weight value, which is really useful. Which makes it a lot easier and manageable. But so
who cares about the junk then? Anyway, so
Blood and Wine. Blood and Wine is I could talk about this game for hours, but Blood and Wine is a really excellent DLC. It adds a new area which is kind of like fantasy France, which is funny, where there's like pompous knights and maidens and all that stuff. It's like really extreme fantasy, but like through like the Witcher gaze.
Cool.
Which is really cool. It's very different. Like the area is very different from the main game, which is quite. It's quite depressing sometimes. It's like just like battlefields and horrible muddy villages and this corrupt big city.
Extremely atmospheric though. It's insane.
Oh, very atmospheric, and
it's the wind, man. I swear it's the wind. The wind.
Much. It's I really enjoyed my time with the DLC. It's there's a lot of really good content, good story. It's pretty much more of the same, but I'd be happy if they just made. This is sadly like they said this is the last game they're making with The Witcher, which is very sad, and they're not going to make any more DLC, which is also very sad. I would love them to just keep making DLCs because this is sort of like even though there's an overarching story, the main point of the game is just like being a Witcher and you're like on the job, just hunting monsters and that kind of shit, which is just fun. It's just a fun experience to go through.
Yeah, man. Highly recommend it. If anyone's not played it, which they should have, and I'm kind of glad I haven't played it yet. I've just started playing it.
So I'm not going to talk much more about it because I don't want to spoil it for you. But the DLC is excellent. The other DLC which came out last year, Heart of Stone, is also really really good.
Great.
It's got a really good story. So you got a lot. I'm envious of you because you got a lot to look forward to.
Yeah.
Witcher 3,
cool.
Excellent, and I'm looking forward to see what we see further down the line from this developer because they're really good. They actually only made like The Witcher 1, Witcher 2, and Witcher 3. That's all they made. But yeah,
it'd be interesting to see them make something kind of not completely different.
What was the Cyberpunk game? Is the next game which you see? I think we watched the trailer for that, so I'm excited to see when that comes out. I have no idea when it's coming out. We haven't seen much else.
It's like Blade Runner, isn't it?
But given like how how good The Witcher was. I'm looking forward to what they do with that.
Cool.
So yeah. The next one you haven't played, but I've played a hell of a lot of it. I also played a lot of the older games of this, and it's Dark Souls 3, which was developed by Japanese developer From Software and came out in March. You've been watching me play the DLC Ashes of Ariandel, which I enjoyed. The main game, it's been quite a discussion in the community. How it fares up to, say, Bloodborne or Dark Souls 1. Dark Souls 2 is kind of, a lot of people didn't like it. I think it's very good, it's just not as good as Dark Souls 1. Dark Souls 3 is kind of in the middle. It's not quite as good as Dark Souls 1, but it's still excellent. It's still, a really, really, really good game. It's just doesn't reach the heights of Dark Souls or Bloodborne, which I think they did well to, change up the pace of those games with that game.
Right.
And you're looking forward to playing Bloodborne, because we're going to do that as well.
Yeah, that's going to be fun, man. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. Looking forward to getting stuck into that.
Yeah, so what are your impressions of Dark Souls, having watched me play through the DLC?
Obviously it's only a DLC, so I only know so much about backstories and stuff like this. Yeah. But I think the design of all the characters on all of these games seem pretty fucking phenomenal. I've said that quite a few times.
Yeah.
Obviously, when I started playing Bloodborne a bit, when we were having a go at it, trying to get me used to it, the controls are a little bit new to me, just in terms of the locking on and stuff. Oh, yeah. But I'm kind of getting used to that now.
Yeah.
And you've got that kind of classically kind of mechanical camera that kind of comes with those Japanese games.
Yeah.
So it takes a little while to get used to, but in general, I can see how you can get really stuck into them, and it definitely feels like a new twist on that kind of RPG. Thing, which I'm really interested to get into with Bloodborne, obviously. But going back to the DLC on Dark Souls 3, it looks great, awesome bosses,
the environmental
interesting puzzles, not puzzles, but
how you move through you move through the world.
You have to really think about it. You don't feel like you're repeating yourself for the sake of them making it a longer game. Which I feel a lot of the time it feels like. It feels like you only ever kind of go back to things to explore new things again, kind of thing. It's not, you get rewarded by exploring in an interesting way, rather than just feeling like you're trying to unlock doors to the next level, So it's really interestingly designed.
Yeah. So I enjoyed my time with Dark Souls series. Weirdly, I struggled with playing it for the second time for a long time, but I've been getting back into it with the DLC and playing different characters and that kind of stuff. So it doesn't quite have the same replayability as I feel Dark Souls 1 had. But overall, it's excellent. It's sadly going to be the last Souls game, at least that's what the Japanese developers are saying. It's going to be the last of these games. They're not going to make any more because they made 5 of them in a couple of years. Which is fair enough. I think we got to a point where, Bloodborne is the black sheep in a good way. It's different from the other ones. But Demon's Souls, Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3 are very similar. And I think we got to the point now where it's maybe should do something new. Even though I love these games, I always think it's iteration is not good. I don't want an Assassin's Creed every year. I don't want a Call of Duty every year. I want something new.
Exactly.
So even though I love Dark Souls, I'm almost glad they're done with it and they're going to do something different, or I can play different games. But these are my favorite games, so I think that's all that needs to be said about that. And obviously we got to talk about the big one this year for us, which is one which I was really surprised. I actually wasn't looking forward to this one. I was very skeptical and cynical about it, and found out that it's actually really, really good, and it's Battlefield 1.
Battlefield 1.
I think the main thing, and I've seen a lot of people complain about content, they're saying there's less content than say Battlefield 4. And I've seen the same criticism of Bloodborne, where there's less weapons in Bloodborne than Dark Souls 2. The thing is, Bloodborne is a much better game. Dark Souls 2 is a much more focused game, and I think this is the same with Battlefield. There's less content, but it's better content, and I think that's better.
Oh, absolutely.
It's really a focused experience, which is what I like.
I think they've kind of stripped back the bullshit, really. Battlefield 4 was basically, let's add more so that it feels like a game after Battlefield 3.
Yeah.
And it just became pointless. All these silly little attachments. They didn't do anything.
And none of us played Hardline either. We never got into that.
I couldn't be bothered with that shit.
But
I mean,
yeah, it was
so many different things to this. But I felt exactly the same. Really was unsure. I was playing a lot of Verdan, which I really enjoyed, and I was like, oh, Battlefield 1, that feels like they're going to make it really arcadey. I mean, Battlefield 1 is a little bit faster paced.
It is arcadey, but it's not like Call of Duty arcadey. It's a bit like, and I feel like it's a bit. At the same time, it's like the weapons are slower and feel more weighty than Battlefield 4.
Yeah.
The maps are also. I think this is another good thing about like when you say like quantity over quality over quantity. It's like the maps are smaller than Battlefield 4. I'm pretty sure they're smaller.
Yeah, they definitely are.
Because the maps on Battlefield 4 were huge, and that was not always a good thing.
No.
The actual design of the maps in Battlefield 1 is, in my opinion, phenomenal. Like
yeah. They're all like the perfect size.
Yeah, and there's a lot of action going on. Pretty much like there's very few downtimes, and there's like the different like how the even on operations or even Conquest. I really like Conquest on this more than Battlefield 4, which could feel empty at times. Or that's why on Battlefield 4
it just feels like they really thought about distances for any scenario on any point in the map.
Yeah.
So even when there is I feel like when there is a large distance between a point, sometimes if there's a point that's just completely open, then it becomes a very stressful situation. So because you're going to get it.
So you have that. I remember that. I don't remember the name of the map, but the desert map where you have like a couple of tight points, and you have like one point which is far out of the desert, all on its own.
Yeah.
And all that stuff is cool, and the variety of maps. Like I love the Destroy City one, the trench. Like one, the forest one is really cool. And of course, I think the best thing about this was operations mode, which they knocked out of the park.
Totally. Totally. For me, that's replaced Rush completely.
Yeah, like mixing Rush and Conquest is like genius.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was perfect. It was really, really great, really well balanced as well, and they've been really working on balancing that as well.
Yeah.
But one more thing with that, actually, I think taking away that focus on trying to just like upgrade your character to get new things. It's like that kind of got taken away quite heavily, I think.
Yeah, a lot.
Even if you look at, there's those 2 melee weapons you can get if you unlock the puzzle pieces. I sell all my skins every time just so I can get that one thing. So even that, like I haven't even got any of those unlocks because I'm not really looking for.
Yeah.
They've managed to find a way for me really just to pick up the game and enjoy it for what it is, rather than kind of distracting me with unlocks and upgrades and leveling up and all that kind of shit, because it really doesn't matter. So I think taking that away has kind of helped bring people into the game who are, still not understanding Battlefield 4, Battlefield in general, and kind of taking it back to its roots and all that kind of stuff. So I'm excited to see what they do next. They said they're not going to be bringing out another Battlefield game for 2 years.
That's a good thing.
Which I think is a very good thing. And I would like to think that they would do something interesting again now that they've got this audience and they've kind of taken it back. I don't see them doing another modern shooter.
Not in the foreseeable future. I mean, like, you have the other ones, like you have Titanfall and the Call of Duties are like going into like futuristic.
Yeah.
And then this is going all the way back to World War One.
Which is great. I mean, I'd be happy with a World War II one in 2 years, honestly. Very happy with that.
Like, the first Battlefield was World War II. I didn't play that, but I enjoyed the hell out of Battlefield Vietnam. So, but I'd love to go back to, like, their proper roots. Like, the first game was World War II. That's how it got started. And it's just gone on from there.
I mean, if they just called it, I don't know what they'd call it, but if they did a World War II one, I'd be...
Battlefield 2? Battlefield 2 was pretty good as well, but...
yeah.
I don't know what they call it, but yeah, and by the way, we played on PS4, and it looks phenomenal, and sounds phenomenal. I have to mention that.
The sound is always amazing, absolutely. Anyway, I could talk about that game for quite a long time as well. So.
But very nice surprise that they actually... made a really good game, because I was very skeptical. I was like, when you said that we have to get it, I was like, I don't know, but I'm really glad I got it, because it's been a ton of fun.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Cool.
So we're gonna talk about let's talk about indie games for a little bit. when we played on the channel, Inside. Maybe I played that. They're the same. What was they made Limbo?
Yeah. Limbo.
So this was a fun one. Talking about not fidelity. The fidelity isn't high, but the aesthetic is fantastic in this. Really like the perspective, like the depth perspective in like a 2D game. It's really cool. Intriguing story. Fairly decent puzzle mechanics and controls.
I think they were a bit more simple than Limbo, but I think the storyline for me is really strong.
Yeah.
It ends very bleakly, and that kind of now they've made that a thing. You know, that's something that Play Dead 2 now. You know, I guess.
Yeah. So it's the story is very intriguing. I'm not going to talk too much about it in case someone hasn't played it, because I think people should play this. It's really good.
Yeah.
It's obviously it's always hard. Like Limbo was such a huge deal because it was one of the first proper indie hits, like in that first wave of indie hits for a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
So for Playdead to come back with Inside, it's really
impressive.
good. It's
really strong.
Very, very strong aesthetics. Excellent sounds as well.
I think it'd be good for them to change it up after this, though, because obviously this is very similar to Limbo in a sense, isn't it? So
you don't want to get pigeonholed. It's
it'd be nice to see something slightly different from them.
I think one we're not going to talk about too much because it didn't come out this year, but we played it this year, was obviously Soma. Which was made by the same people who made Amnesia, and that's sort of the same thing. What I like about that though was that they there's been so many copies of Amnesia since it came out, like rip-offs, and then they made Soma, which is quite different, and actually I actually like a lot more than Amnesia. Amnesia was okay, it's scary, but I love Soma. But that came out last year, even though we played it this year, and that was a good fun experience playing it with you as well.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Inside. It's good. I hope people play it. It's cheap as well.
It's worth playing.
Cheap as fuck.
Alright, let's move on.
Yeah. So another game I was very skeptical at, which actually turned out to be maybe like a lot better than I ever expected or hoped it could be, which was Hitman. Made by IO Interactive. They decided to release these as episodes, and they released the first one in March, and then the last episode in October. And I was very skeptical of this move, and Absolution was good, but it was not great, and I loved the Hitman games. And I decided to get the whole pack once all of them had been released, and then I ended up playing the first mission for 10 hours just fucking around.
Yeah, I mean...
It's really, really excellent.
I think the format is worth talking about with this game, because I think it's quite interesting what they did there. I think it works.
Well, this is one of the games where it does work, because you can play so much around in the levels, and they're so intricate, and so much you can do. There's so many like little goals you can set yourself, or like little like achievements you can get for different ways of doing things. So as I said, like I played the Paris level, even though I downloaded all of them, I played the Paris level for like 10 hours, just like trying to do different stuff, and having a hell of a good time. And this is one of the games which work for this format, because they're always like always with the Hitman games, there were like these big open levels that were kind of isolated and had like this sort of overarching story, but not really. And so this is one of the definitely one of the games where this episodic format works, and I'm really looking forward to season 2 next year.
So you're looking forward to next year, season 2?
Season 2 is coming out next year.
For sure, man. Absolutely.
And I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah. I think just generally, it's for me, it was just interesting how it helped them really focus on specifically adding like so many different elements to just one level. Then it kind of becomes a game on its own.
Yeah,
and it just really owned what the franchise is, and you really focus on playing it as a Hitman game and getting used to the levels. And it just reminds me of kind of how you used to play games. The same thing with like health regeneration, and when you had to go and fucking get health packs instead of, it's that kind of older style of gaming where you have to know the game inside out, and you just do, and then it becomes so much more enjoyable. Part of it is knowing the actual level. So I think this format works particularly well with this game. And for me, it's the first time it's really gone back to kind of what a Hitman game should be. So I'm really excited to see them bring out more and more levels, because I'll buy them. I'm up for it.
And even though I played a lot of the game, I definitely think we should do more content on Hitman for the channel, with like the different like challenges and the different like elusive target missions where you have like some random target in like the same mission, but so it's like same mission but it's completely different. It's flips on its head. There's a lot of cool stuff they did with it, and I'm really happy that because Hitman Absolution got a lot of shit. It was a good game, but it wasn't like, it was lacking a lot of the things that make a Hitman game a Hitman game. And this game is really rolling back the years and in the next really good way.
Yeah.
While at the same time, I really do think the tutorial levels are really shitty. They're really not. I did not like the tutorial. I was so negative all the way through.
That was a waste of time.
But that's all. This is fine. That's fine. The main game is fantastic. The main missions are fantastic. They're all good in their own way. Some are better than the other ones. I think my favorite one is the Paris one and the Italian one. They're really good fun.
You haven't played the Japanese one yet?
I haven't played the Japanese one. We should do that on the
channel. That'd be fun. Enjoyed that.
I heard the best ones are like Paris, Italy, and the Japanese one.
Oh, those cool, are the three best ones. I love the Japanese one, man. So good. It's really good.
So Hitman, I'm really glad they revitalized the franchise. It also, I believe, it was a success for them, this model, which is why they're bringing out season 2.
Yeah.
So I hope we can see more from this.
I'm interested to see that. Cool. All right, let's swiftly move on then to another indie game.
Yeah.
Kingdom, which was released in October 2015, but they brought out kind of an expansion in 2016, which was basically a re-release of the actual game, as far as I can see, but with a little bit of a twist. So I wanted to talk about this one because I just wanted to add in some more indie games.
Yeah.
The artwork for this is, I've got a feeling this is a Norwegian developer. Am I correct?
I don't think so.
Or is it?
That's a Dutch name, I think.
Oh, maybe Dutch then. Whatever. You're all the same. Yeah. No, I'm joking.
Made by Thomas van den Berg.
It sounds like it's probably one guy. I have to do some research into that, but really fantastic game. The style is really pretty. I love that pixel art style anyway.
Yeah.
But also just absolutely stunning visually. And it is. I just find it impressive when people can make something look like actual art and it be something you can play. For me, it doesn't matter how many fucking pixels there are. I can get lost in it.
Yeah.
If it's engaging and atmospheric, and the music's great. You just slowly build up your little town and gather all these villagers, and you're like the king or the queen or whatever, but you kind of get the idea that you're helping these villagers to kind of build this kind of community, and you defend it, and then there's kind of outside force. Everything's very mysterious, there's like 2 buttons. It's all very mysterious. You don't really know where it will lead, and it's pretty difficult. They've had to bring out quite a few different patches to kind of get it to the point it's at now. But
one of the things, like, I watched a couple of Let's Plays, like just the first episodes, and obviously the game is extremely beautiful. But talk a bit more about one of the things I found hard to grasp was the actual gameplay. So could you talk a bit more about that?
Yeah. So I mean, basically, you have these surrounding little kind of peasants, and you can get them involved in your little community that you're starting to build. You can't attack anything. You are literally just managing this community essentially as the kind of leader. So you kind of build the defenses and all this kind of stuff. So the gameplay really is just kind of defending more than anything. But it's also puzzle solving, because there's all these kind of mysterious elements that you don't really know how to put them all together. So I'm still trying to figure out all those parts of it. And in this new DLC, you can build a ship that'll take you somewhere else as well.
Oh, cool.
So it's all very mysterious, but you're really just trying to protect these villagers and protect yourself as well, essentially. Yeah. So as you kind of build up, basically day by day, the enemy, these kind of freaky, dark, evil monster things come out in the night now and then, then there's a blood moon like every 10th day or something, and it's really horrific and it's really difficult. And then rebuilding your defenses though is incredibly difficult. So it's a really difficult game, and I think it's one of those games, again, going back to that older version of gaming where you have to really know the fucking game, and it's much more rewarding, and it adds a lot more longevity to it than I've done that now, So I'm looking forward to picking that up again, and seeing where I get to next time I play it. But it's worth trying. It can be quite it's a very relaxing game, but then when the night comes, it becomes quite worrying. Yeah.
Cool. I need to play it.
Yeah, worth it. All right.
Moving on, another indie game. This one it came out of nowhere, and I love it so much. It's Stardew Valley.
It's crack.
It's worse than crack and amphetamines to put together in terms of how addictive it is. Actually, I think the Ministry of Public Health should probably ban this game.
Probably.
Because it ruined my life for 2 weeks, but it's fine. It's made by Concerned Ape, Eric Barone. He made the entire game on his own. A very impressive achievement. It's basically just a farming game made in Super Nintendo graphics. And that's pretty much it, and it's fantastic.
It's ridiculously addictive.
I love just all the little elements like fishing or farming or like getting to know the villagers. So it's just so relaxing. It's such a well-made product with the different seasons, with the music, with the atmosphere, with the night and day cycle. And then there's a lot of content there. And I enjoy doing all the different crops and making different foods and all that stuff. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And it's got that just one more day syndrome because
exactly.
It saves when you go to bed, so you have to play at least one day.
You always want to have a little look out the window and see what's changed, and you're like,
I'll just play one more day. It takes like 15 minutes. It's fine.
Yeah.
And then 6 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Like, oh god, I have to go to work in an hour.
Yeah. That's terrible.
That's what this game does to you. I loved every minute of it.
We highly recommend you don't play it.
I highly recommend anyone who is interested not to play it because it will destroy your life.
I would heed that advice.
Yeah. Basically, I consider one of the NPCs in the game. It's called Shane. He's my best friend in the world. He sends me frozen pizzas in the mail, which is awesome. But yeah, it's really good. I love the artwork. And you started playing a bit of it as well. You poor soul.
Very relaxing. It's pretty relaxing though. It's enjoyable. It's a nice.
It's very, very relaxing, especially if you had like a stressful day at work or whatever. Then you go and like, I want to be a farmer for like, and it's like it has a whole setup with like the story or like working in this horrible office for like Jojo Mart, which is basically like Amazon or something like that, or Facebook.
Yeah,
and it's like
it really stresses me out that market. There's a Jojo Market.
I know.
On the other side of that bridge.
I know,
it stresses me out.
So never go there. I like never buy there.
I've never gone there.
You can buy like a Jojo membership thing, which I think has some negative consequences for the village.
I could imagine it.
So it can do that, but just ignore it. Don't go there. Never go there, even when the shop is closed and you need something on a Wednesday. It's closed on Wednesday for some reason. I don't know. But the normal shop in town is closed on Wednesdays.
You into going to the other
and it's also open longer as well. So it's like if you miss out and you're like, obviously you don't want to waste a day. So if you need like crops or something, and you're like, oh man, and it's like, well, the Jojo Mart is still open. So it's just more convenient. But it's like, fuck that.
No, fuck that, man. I'm never doing that.
I never do that.
Use them.
And have you started the Community House collection?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Do you have to have the 5 things at the right time to put them all together to get the gift and that opens it or whatever?
Yeah. It's quite an involved process. It takes it takes at least 2 years to get everything. At least.
Oh right. Yeah, I can tell. Yeah, I haven't even started.
If you're not min-maxing it, it will probably take 3 years in the game.
Yeah, I think it's going to take me.
But there's a really nice reward at the end. That's a fun long-term challenge.
Yeah.
And just it's an amazing, horrible game. And also they're bringing out co-op for it, which I'm very excited for.
Yeah, me too.
Now we can destroy our lives together.
Yeah, now we can destroy our lives together, which won't seem as bad.
Yeah, it'll be like, man, it's just like a social activity. I'm not like, I know I should have been working 2 hours ago, but we have to. It's like autumn is upon us.
Yeah.
So, Stardew Valley, don't play it. Amazing
play
achievement, fantastic work by the developer Eric Barone. Yeah. All right.
Swiftly moving on.
Another indie game, one I really enjoyed. This is a bit contentious because it's still in early access. But it was released on Steam this year, which is when I started playing it, and it's Factorio. Another game I really like. It came for me out of nowhere. They started development in 2012, and it's been available on different platforms digitally. But it came out in February 2016 on Steam, and it's coming out. The full release is coming out in 2017. There's been a couple of updates recently, which are really, really good. But yeah, this is just a game where you build like a factory, and it's really fun. It starts out like a Minecraft game where you like chop wood and you get some iron and you craft some shit in your inventory, but then you have to start making machines make your stuff for you, and that's when it gets really fun.
Yeah, and straight off the bat, like there was co-op really as well, which I was pretty happy with.
We played a bit of that. That was good fun as well.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, it's fun to, if you played like a couple of weeks ago, for example, you played maybe 20-30 hours and you go back and you're just like, you're like, you have this mess of a factory and you have no idea how these different parts stick together, but it all kind of, because you're building modularly, you're building like bit by bit. So eventually you get this huge sprawling factory and you have no idea what anything is doing.
Yeah,
but there's some logic to the madness, which is wonderful. Yeah. And it's just like okay, you build like a setup of like a factory setup, and you're like, okay, this doesn't work. I need to improve this. I need to improve the efficiency.
Yeah.
And you can also build trains in it, which I love.
Yeah, it's one of those games. The more you play it, the better you get in it, kind of thing. Obviously, but
later on, you can also build robots, which can build things for you, and they can also. You can put like so you can specify an inventory. I always want to have like 10 like inserters or whatever, which are things you use a lot for building. And so when you have less than 20, the robots will go get them for you and put them in your inventory. And so all of a sudden they're like not doing anything on your own. You're just like managing robots in your like crazy factory. It gets really involved, and you have like
and then you go, wait, why did I build this factory?
Well, it's to get off the planet, but that's like, this is like, I don't want to leave my fucking factory. Like, I spent so much time building it. I'd love them to have like different goals than just like getting off the planet. Like, I don't know what you can do with it, but there's definitely a lot of potential here. Like, even now, now, the game is worth it. Just get it. It's fantastic. It's a lot of fun. If you like
a while to get into, I think. People to put in the time.
Yeah. It takes a while to get into. But when you do, it's just like sort of, there's always a point where it just clicks, and it's just, you have so much fun.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what the final game looks like, or if they'll bring more patches and updates to it. There's so much you can do with this. It is infinite possibilities. All right. The next one, I think you should talk about. I haven't really played a lot of it, but I've enjoyed what I have played of it.
I mean, I was a bit unsure as to whether to put this on here. So we're talking about Dishonored 2 here from Arcane Studios, which came out in December 2016. We're both playing it at the moment. I've played it through twice already. This will be the third time I'm playing it through. So, I mean, that says something in itself, I guess, that I'm happy to play it through a third time and really enjoying it the third time, actually. So the downfall with this game, and the reason why I was unsure as to put this on this list, was it is very similar to the first game. Luckily, the first game is really fucking good.
I mean, they're both very good. I'm just thinking, could they take it to the next? You're just thinking, could they take it to the next level?
Yeah, and this is why the absolutely great game. You'll fully enjoy it. It feels short because it is short, but you can definitely play it through a few times, in different ways. And there's a lot to explore. And I think the first time you play it, you're just trying to focus on the storyline, and you kind of don't explore as much as you should. So I think the next time you play it through, maxing out all your abilities and stuff becomes kind of quite good fun, and just upping the difficulty level a little bit. And you'll have a more rewarding experience that second playthrough. You'll enjoy it. It's worth buying. I'm not sure how much it deserves to be on this list, just because it is very similar to the first one. However, I think it's a sign of good things, because obviously the next game they're bringing out is a kind of a sci-fi game. I don't know if you've heard of this one.
No.
Can't remember the name of it, but the gameplay looks fucking awesome, and they're great at creating worlds, and the gameplay is great. So I'm really curious to see what they do next. We're already starting to see bits of that unfold now, but I think it's going to be great. So I think if they were going to bring out another Dishonored, I think they really need to rethink what they're doing. But it's not looking like they're going to be doing that anytime soon. So I think I just take this as a nice nod to the first one and enjoy a franchise that works pretty well. It's just nothing different, It's just nothing different. That's the thing.
One note on the one of the things I think I enjoyed Dishonored, and a lot of other people enjoyed it, is it's a really good game, but one of the things is like there's a lack of these kind of first-person stealth games in the market. Obviously, back in the day, Thief was huge, and so I think a lot of people maybe enjoyed it more than... It's still a really good game, but maybe enjoyed it more than it deserved because there's so few of these types of games.
Yeah.
And I think like I really want more of these kind of like more slow-paced first-person stealth games.
Oh yeah, they're awesome.
And Dishonored scratches that itch, and does it pretty well.
It's still a great game. Yeah. If Dishonored 1 didn't come out, I'd be like, this game is amazing.
Yeah.
It's like it's a little bit shorter and the same level of story and stuff, and it's great, but it just I don't know, how do you kind of make something better anyway? I don't know how you'd fix this. I think they should have just never. It felt like such a well kind of rounded game the first time round. They should have just moved on straight away.
Yeah,
it's just because it's successful, but they made the second one, I'm sure of it. But anyway,
we'll see what to do.
Worth playing.
I'm looking forward to playing it properly as well. Looking forward to that.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay. Next game we're going to talk about is the Stress Simulator of 2016.
Yeah.
Which we played. Overcooked by Team 17. Came out in August. One of the most fun co-op games that was released this year. I had a ton of fun with this.
I'd say probably. I think it's the most fun one that's come out this year, to be honest. Like couch games.
Yeah, couch co-op. Very simple setup. You're just like cooking stuff. I would love to actually play this with 4 people. That would be insane.
Oh, it'd be bonkers.
that would be too much stress. Like you'd have to have one person who's like ordering everybody else, and it's like you just imagine like a family playing this. It's a really good family game. It's a very good party game. It's a really good like game to just play with a friend. I would never play this alone. You can't play this alone because you can play you can control 2 characters with one controller, which is insane to me. But or like you could like play co-op and both of you use the same controller. That'd be interesting too. We played it with each other controllers, which I think is the best thing to do. But the music, the design, the look of the characters, which are really funny. Like I think you talked about how the way they move is really funny and they look so dorky. Yeah, and just like the craziness of like because you're on like this epic journey.
Yeah,
so like it opens with this really dramatic music and like this monster, and you're like make the salad. And it's like it's so silly, but it's so like they could have just made like a silly cooking game, but they went all the way, and I think that's that like just that little extra thing.
Team 17 are great. I think. I'm really happy they found something new.
Yeah.
And kind of this feels like a bit of a comeback for them.
Yeah. It's just such a well-made co-op game, and it's set up to be chaotic and make you shout at each other. Yeah. I particularly felt very abused after we played it.
Yeah, I know. So much fun.
Like the fucking soup, it's
it's so much fun.
It's so much fun. And one of the most fun thing and actually enjoyable things was when we went back and played the level we played much earlier, and like how well we did. Just like we didn't even think about it. It was just like automatic. We just did really well.
Yeah, I think the learning curve is really cool as well. Yeah. It's actually fun to get good at.
Yeah, it's fun to get good at it. You want to like get 3 stars and like do it perfectly. even though it's just a silly game, you want to do well at it because it's so. It's just like
because it's working on the very base value of like teamwork is fun.
Yeah, exactly. You have to do teamwork well to actually get stars in this. You can't like do your own thing.
It's funny when it goes wrong.
Oh, it is funny when it goes. Sometimes it goes very wrong. When like the burning mechanics is so good. Like and when it places like the fire extinguisher in place where you can't get it and all that stuff. Oh, it's really good. Yeah.
Well,
so we've played the Christmas DLC, which is fun. We're probably later going to play I don't remember what it's called, but it was the second DLC. So I'm looking to play more of this. I hope they bring out more like level packs and stuff because it's really just really fun.
Yeah.
Right. So moving on from simple little Overcooked, Stellaris.
Yeah.
Made by Paradox, Swedish developer. It came out in May. These guys made a series of like grand strategy games like Victoria series, Europa Universalis, and Hearts of Iron. And they went in a completely new direction this year and brought out Stellaris, which I enjoyed a lot. You also played a lot of it, didn't you?
Yeah, I played a hell of a lot of it. I love this game. I think it's fucking awesome. I could pick this game up at any point and enjoy it. I love the entire.
Yeah.
The curve of the whole game is just great.
Yeah, it's a lot of people find Paradox games hard to get into. My favorite one is Europa Universalis 4. I played that a lot. I love that game.
Yeah, I'm yet to get into these, but
Stellaris is definitely the most accessible one. If you ask me which Paradox game should I start with, probably Stellaris. It's the simplest one. That's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing, but it's the easiest one to get into. It's probably the simplest one.
And the visuals are really, really beautiful, actually.
Oh yeah. Because before it was like, the joke was it's like Map Simulator 2017, because it's usually Map Simulator 2017 because it's just just like maps of Europe, all of the other ones. So this one they went all out on the graphics and it looks really good. I love the scope of the game. I love it does have its issues, particularly with the late game. Like the most fun part is the early game. But they can do a lot more with probably the diplomacy. There's something they need to do there. But but sometimes the diplomacy, like I heard a lot of people complain about the diplomacy, and some of it's right. There are problems there, but sometimes it works really well. Like how your game starts and how your game develops is very dependent on what kind of neighbors you get.
Yeah.
So if you get just peace-loving hippie aliens around you, then you can have a really comfortable start. But then maybe you get like a semenophobic asshole who's like going to destroy you because you're like infidels or something. Yeah. So it's like your experience, and I like that. Like a lot of these type of games, like Civilization and that kind of stuff. All the players, or like the player and the computer players, start on equal footings, and I actually like in Paradox games that they don't. Like it brings much more emergent gameplay.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
I like that. So you have you have a couple.
That's part of the fun, isn't it? Discovering what's around you.
And so you have like a couple of like advanced aliens, and you have the ancient aliens and that kind of stuff. So it's funny, and it's just like the variety of different types of aliens.
Just making me want to play it now.
It's really fun. It's really addictive.
It's such a fun game, and again, the co-op works fantastic.
Yeah, we played this quite a bit, quite a few hours. Just
we
wrecking
haven't managed to finish a game yet.
No, it takes a while. But I think the mistake we made, we played it on speed 1. We should probably play it on speed 2.
Yeah. I know, but it's so chilled playing.
I know.
So enjoyable.
But yeah, it's a lot of fun. I hope we can play more of that. I also hope we can play Europa Universalis 4 if I can teach you.
Yeah, it'd be nice to. We will try it, and we're just trying to figure out an easy, simple way for us to record them and put them up. But we would definitely want to put some Stellaris games up on the channel at some point.
That'd be really fun.
Yeah,
I love this game. It's really, really good. I look forward to the DLC. Usually Europa Universalis 4 came out in 2013. Yeah, and it's so much better today than it was then because they brought out a lot of DLCs. So I'm looking forward to seeing how the game gets. How the game will be in 2 years. Like they'll still be making DLCs in 2 years. This is kind of Paradox's business model. On a side note, I also played. I didn't play much of it, so that's why I'm not going to talk too much about it. But I did enjoy my time with Hearts of Iron 4.
Oh right, yeah, which I haven't played at all. Is that Paradox also?
That's Paradox as well. It's
is it? Yeah,
World War II one.
Really cool.
I played one campaign, but I need to play more of it. I enjoyed that campaign a lot. I played as Germany. That was a lot of fun.
In there as well, is there?
Yep, let's go up in that as well. So you could play like Britain, that could be like Norway. That'd be fun.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. So Hearts of Iron 4 looks really interesting. I'm looking forward to playing more of it. But I just haven't played it that much because I've been playing European. Like when it comes to strategy games this year, it's primarily been more Europa Universalis and Stellaris, and it's just I don't have enough time in my life for Hearts of Iron 4 as well. But I think that's probably a really good game as well.
Yeah.
If I get more into it.
Cool.
So yeah. Last game on the docket. One of the most talked about games this year. One of the most controversial games this year. No, it's not No Man's Sky. It's The Last Guardian.
Yeah.
Which we finished a couple of days ago.
Super enjoyable.
Well, you were watching. I was playing it.
Yeah, enjoyable to watch.
So, first off, let me just say this game looks amazing. It sounds amazing. It has a lot of amazing moments, set pieces. The story is really well told, I think. It's just such a shame that it has so many issues. Like, the frame rates I think is unacceptable for like a console game. Like, because it has to go through so many processes to be released. That releasing a game with such bad frame rates is unacceptable. The controls are very hard, and sometimes the puzzles are really, really frustrating, and the camera is one of the worst I've ever. The camera is so bad; it is beyond belief how bad the camera is. For all that, when I think back at the game, I remember the good stuff, and I think a lot of people are saying, "Oh, this game is horrible," and some people are saying this game is amazing. It's like 5 out of 10 and then 10 out of 10. You know, I think. Where there's like a line where you're like, okay, how much you're enjoying the good parts versus how much the bad parts are annoying you. And I think I'm on the side where, despite all its flaws, I really enjoyed it and it was really memorable and I, in many ways, loved it. I just think it's such a shame that it has so many issues that it didn't need to have.
I just don't think they were ever going to get round to sorting that out. If they couldn't do it after 7 fucking years, they're never going to do it, are they?
Yeah.
So
that's my assumption as well. This came to a point where like, okay, we have to release this now. Otherwise it's not going to happen.
Otherwise we just have to give up on the whole thing, and it would have been a lot of money wasted probably.
Yeah.
I think,
so
like you said, despite its flaws, it's a really beautiful game. The story is really nice. The development between the two characters is really enjoyable.
Yeah. And also, talking about the technical flaws, it is like the creation of that creature is a technological achievement. It's excellent. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
It looks and sounds amazing. It feels like a real animal. It moves around the environment in a really realistic way.
Yeah.
Even when it doesn't know where it wants to go. So that's all that is really good.
So, I mean, I think I really enjoyed watching the playthrough. There were definitely some frustrating moments, as we know.
Yeah.
But overall, I think they've done a really good job, and I can see why they why they ran into so many problems. I think that the way they built the game was probably a mistake.
It's probably I mean, it's really cool that you can you're in this sort of mountain volcano thing, and you can see everything when you're outside. Mm-hmm. But clearly, that put that's when the frame rates really drop, and that put that kind of design put a lot of pressure on the game. I'm wondering if it's actually one environment where you're in, or if the using as I told you, the Dark Souls method, where you can see a different environment, and it's a different render. It's a different render. It's like a graphical representation of that environment which you will go to, but they're different environments that load in differently. Obviously, so that there's less shit for the game to process.
Yeah, of course.
So I'm wondering what the technical solutions were for that. But it definitely something. Definitely when you're outside, the frame rate dips to 15 frames a second, which is not very good.
Not good at all.
Just one thing I'd like to say. I'm really glad that this kind of game is out there.
Yeah.
For all its flaws, there's no other game like this where there's very little you don't participate in violence. It's not a shoot. It's such a different type of game. I'm just glad that there's a different type of game out there than all the other stuff we usually play.
I feel relieved for them.
Yeah, they released it. Yeah, I mean, like they started development in 2007 was when they started development.
Yeah, that's crazy, madness.
So
well, good for them for getting it out, and I think it's a great game despite its flaws. And I think it's I think they'll probably be relieved somewhat, and it was probably changing some people's lives by it being out. Just by the fact that they could move on with their lives now, maybe.
This is the same team who made Ico and Shadow of the Colossus, and those games had a lot of the same issues. To be fair, and so I don't know. Maybe in 10 years, everyone will be like, "Oh, I remember Last Guardian? That was amazing." All games shit, you know.
I think it's memorable. There's no chance you're not going to remember it.
It's a fantastic. Like it looks fantastic. It's an amazing technical achievement. I like if I had my pluses are more than my minuses. Basically, it's good despite all its flaws and many issues.
Yeah.
But I see a lot of people is like because those things are so closely weighted. I think for a lot of people the frustration and the technical issues became too much. So I've seen a lot of negative backlash.
A couple of the things I would say that really push it away from it being a negative experience for me, that really pull it through, is but bar like the obvious things like the characters and stuff like this, is and the relationship between the characters and all that kind of stuff, and the development of those characters. That story arc is really strong, and I think the story is so simple and strong because of it, because it is just about their relationship, but you can't help but feel involved in it, which kind of makes it for me. That, and then you add kind of the music, and the sound design was quite nice. The music was beautiful, like all those things, and the story. It's very hard not to like. So it is only those few technical things that pull you out of it. But at the end of the day, you could have read that as a book and you would have been happy. So I think.
I think a lot of the development of the relations come with your interaction with the creature, which like you couldn't get the same thing. Like you talked about, like you talked about How to Train Your Dragon. It's kind of like a similar story. How to Train Your Dragon, but like it's an okay movie, but it's not. I mean, I don't know how it could work as a movie, but I think like a lot of your attachments come from you actually interacting with the thing.
Yeah, that's
which is part of the fact that it's a game. And you and the fact that you feel powerless without the creature, because you can't do squat with like the armors. Yeah. Like you're powerless without the creature, and so I think like the fact, so the fact that it's a game. Is part of like what makes the bond strong.
Yeah.
So I'm not
interesting.
Yeah. So that's definitely when I played it. That's how I felt. So that might be the thing. Cool. Last Guardian. It finally came out. That's all there is to say. So that's pretty much the games we're going to talk about for 2016. We played a couple of other games, but I think these are the standouts.
These are definitely the ones that stand out.
These are the standouts. I think the last thing I want to say is when I was looking over the games we played this year that I really enjoyed, there's a huge variety, and that makes me so happy.
Yeah,
like
sure.
just like
from indie games
in the pixel farming game Stardew Valley to like grand strategy space game Stellaris, and then like World War One shooter Battlefield 1, and it's like there's such a huge variety of games. Settings, gameplay types, and the fact that there was so many different types of games really, really make me happy. Because I think the older I get, the more I want variety in my gaming, like not just playing the same game over and over again. And just playing different types of games. And there's been a lot of really good different games this year. Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to next year, and I hope we have the same variety as we've had this year.
Yeah.
There's definitely some things that I'm looking forward to, but we'll do another podcast for.
Yeah, we'll talk about what games we're looking forward to.
I think so. But for now, then, I guess we're gonna leave that there. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for listening.
Signing out of 2016.
That's
Goodbye,
it.
2016.
Goodbye, you bastard.